Long before what remained of the Fawn Archer clan was allowed into Eden's sphere, the god Cernunnos and his wife, the goddess Danu, wanted nothing to do with any of the Fae clans that resided in the human realm. Danu saw all of the Fae clans as mostly human, not as Fae. She didn't consider them viable for her breeding program. Therefore, she left them to fend for themselves in the human realm. At that point in history, the Fae lived freely and peacefully amongst the humans. The different clans had many skills to offer, and they worked hand in hand with humans. The Fawn Archers were most skilled with a bow and were happy to teach humans how to skillfully wield their own. But as the years passed, humans grew wary of the Fae and grew jealous of their many talents and gifts. Humans then began to hate the Fae out of fear and jealousy alike. Humans decided amongst themselves that the human realm needed to be cleansed of such creatures that were more animal than human. Desperate to survive, the Fae clans began retreating into the mountains and setting up magical barriers to keep anyone and anything who wished them harm out. Years passed by, and the Fae were born, raised, and died in seclusion, safely tucked away in their mountain home. Many clans lost many members due to them leaving the mountains in search of adventure or curiousness. They became hateful and frustrated that they were being forced to live their lives trapped in a mountainside. As a sign of rebelliousness, some of the younger Fae left to explore more of the human realm, trying to stay unnoticed by humans. They were never to be seen again. Many lost their lives due to humans who were angry enough to trespass into the mountain despite the repercussions of passing through the magical barrier. If humans passed through the magical barrier, their death came sooner than they could have imagined. Because of these instances, both human and Fae fell to their demise. Many, many years into the future, on a day like any other, hundreds of humans, armed and ready, entered into the Fae hideout in the mountains, killing countless Fae of all the clans. Amongst the deaths were the king and queen of the Fawn Archer clan. King Diarmuid and Queen Brigitte helped preside over all the Fae clans, maintain order within them, and ultimately did their best to keep the peace between humans and Fae. Not any one Fae could have possibly foreseen just how many humans had gathered, fueled by their anger and hatred, and all with the same goal in mind: eradicate the Fae. During this most epic war, known to be the most gruesome of its kind in history thus far, the heir to the Fawn Archer clan throne, Prince Oscar Pantalus, was helping the surviving Fae scatter and disappear throughout the mountainside. Through all of the chaos and confusion, his little sister, Princess Fiona, was swept up and he lost sight of her. Prince Oscar searched everywhere for his little sister, to no avail. As Danu and Cernunnos observed the humans and Fae fighting, they decided they would temporarily open the gateway to Edensphere and send out messengers to alert the fleeing Fae and bring them to her. She, Danu, would take in all the Fae who made their way to her. If they didn't find the gateway within 3 days' time, she would close it forever and no longer concern herself with the Fae left behind in the human realm. She had more important things to worry about. Days of searching behind him, Prince Oscar rested on a tree branch high enough to keep from being seen by others and still able to see movement below. While scanning the forest, he came across a druid girl named Oriana. He wasn't aware she was a human girl because she was in one of her various animal forms. All he saw was a beautiful doe, admired her from afar while still searching the forest for any possible sign of his beloved little sister. Prince Oscar fell asleep watching the doe, only to be awakened several hours later, and night had fallen. Exhausted from his search, he stretched, looked around, and noticed the doe hadn't moved from where he saw her last. He took it as a sign she was waiting for him. He gracefully jumped from tree branch to tree branch until his feet silently hit the forest floor. He looked to the doe, and all he saw was her white tail as she ran away. With his speed, he was able to keep up with her. They ran for what seemed like hours until she stopped, took a step back, and looked straight ahead. Prince Oscar slowed down and looked in the same direction as the beautiful doe. He noticed a faint glowing ring of light, and as he turned back to look at the doe, she had vanished. Unknowingly to Prince Oscar, the druid girl Oriana had brought him to the gateway between the human realm and Edensphere, the Fae realm. He wasn't sure what to do, so with his bow and quiver strapped to his back, he slowly walked towards the faint glow. As he looked through the magical veil to a land more beautiful than anything he had ever seen, he felt like he was being pulled in, and he was. Danu's magic was drawing him in, and he stepped into the gateway to his new life. Oriana hadn't really left. She just changed into an owl and sat on a branch up high, waiting to see if the fawn archer prince would go or if he'd stay. She knew she could not pass through the gateway as druids were forbidden in Edensphere, but she watched as the humans invaded the mountains and killed so many Fae she couldn't bear to see the prince slain, so she helped him find his way to the gateway. It was the least she could do. Despite the druid people maintaining a neutral alignment between the humans and the Fae, she decided to help as many Fae as she could. The prince is just the first of many. She hoped to find the princess as well and guide her safely to her brother. She knew what it was like to be alone, and she didn't want that for anyone. Oriana is a druid girl, sometimes called a druidess, but her name means golden or light. Her loving parents named her as such because of the golden markings she was born with. Unfortunately, like the Fae clans left within the human realm, She is one of very few Druid people left on Earth. Most have passed on, and the ones left are dispersed throughout the human realm. They figure it's easier to hide if you're alone. She remembers a time when there were several groups of Druids all over the human realm. Humans could find them gathered in beautiful oak tree groves. The oak tree was revered as the king of the forest, strongest of all the trees. The Druid people sought out these oak tree groves and made their homes within them. Humans with authority, such as kings and lords, thought of Druids as advisors or teachers and relied on their wisdom to make decisions concerning their people. Now, they too are being hunted and used for what magic they do possess. Druids have the ability to manipulate nature and the elements because they themselves are extensions of nature. In other words, their powers come from nature, and they have the power to morph into various animal forms for protection. They can also use both healing and attack spells when they need. Using their powers to make people see what they want them to see is why humans have begun to hunt them and capture them. Although the Druids are peaceful people and abstain from war, humans have found that if they capture and control a Druid, they can manipulate their powers for selfish gain. But what the humans didn't understand was that if the Druid people didn't maintain a neutral alignment and stuck to their special code of conduct, they would slowly lose their special powers and spells that came with that neutrality. Oriana waited until the Fawn Prince entered the gateway and flew to her oak tree home to rest for the night. Another day would dawn, and she had many fae to help.